Hello and welcome to this lecture. And in this lecture, let's go ahead and learn how to set up the user profile page, which is this page right here. So currently the user profile page only displays the username of the logged in user, but let's say if you also want to add other fields like the profile image, the location of this particular user. So how exactly can we do that? So now by default in the user model, which is the model which we are using to get this particular data, does not have the field for adding a profile image. So what we need to do now is that we need to use the current user model and we need to extend that particular current user model and create another model and basically have some sort of relationship between those two models. So how exactly can we go ahead and do that? Which means that we need to create a new model and extend from the current user model which we have. So how exactly can we go ahead and create a new user model? So we simply go ahead and do that by going into our users app, and in our app we already have a file which is called as models.py, and in this particular models.py we always have the user created models. So in brief, we are going to create our own user model right over here. So let's first go ahead, and as we want to create a user model which extends the current model, so we'll go ahead and first import the existing model from django.contrib.auth. So we'll type in from django.contrib.auth.models, and we need to import the model which is user. So once we have imported that, we are good to go. So now we need to create another model here which is going to extend the current user model. So I'll just type in class, and we will name this model as, let's say, profile, as this is going to be a user profile. So look at it at this way. So we have a user model which is an inbuilt model, and for each user we want to create a profile, which means that every single user is going to have a profile. So user is going to be a model, profile is going to be a different model, and we are going to basically have a one-to-one relationship, meaning that one user is going to have one profile and one profile is going to be associated with one user. So now let's go ahead and do that. So this is going to be models.model, and now in order to associate user with this particular model, I'll type in user equals, that's going to be models.one-to-one field, and here we are going to type in user, meaning that we are associating this particular model with the user model which we have right here. So we'll type in user over here, and after that we also need to mention the onDelete parameter over here. So I'll type in onDelete equals, that's going to be models.cascade. Now what exactly is this thing right here? So that means on deleting the user, the profile of that user also needs to be deleted, which means that let's say if you're having a social networking website, you have created a user account in there, so they also give you your profile. So when you go ahead and delete your user account, it also needs to go ahead and delete your profile as well, because there's no point in having your profile page if the user account is deleted. So this line does the same exact thing, that is, it's going to delete the profile if the user is going to be deleted. So now once we go ahead and do that, we are pretty much good to go. So now once we have associated this particular profile model with the user model, now we need to go ahead and add our very own fields over here. So let's say if I want to add the image field, I can simply type in image equals, that's going to be models.image field, and in here we can specify a few parameters. So the first parameter is what's going to be default image of this particular profile. So let's say if you go ahead and create this model, and let's say if you didn't assign any sort of an image, so in that case it's actually going to need a default image which is going to be present. So I'll type in default, and the default image is going to be, let's say, profile pic.jpg, and now we also need to mention the location to which particular directory this image needs to be uploaded. So this image needs to be uploaded to, let's say, a new directory which is called as profile pictures. So in order to mention that, you need to type in upload_to, that's going to be equal to the name of the directory. So let's name that directory as profile underscore pictures. So once we go ahead and do that, let's also add another field over here. So let's add a field which is called as location, which is going to be, let's say, models dot character field, and let's say the max length of this thing is going to be 100. So once we go ahead and once we create the profile model, we are almost good to go. But upon adding the image field right over here, and if you go ahead and run the server, you will get an error over here which will say something like pillow is not installed. So whenever you are using image field is not by default present in Django, and for using an image field you always need to install something which is called as pillow. So in order to install pillow, you simply need to type in pip install pillow, and that's actually going to install pillow for you. So when I go ahead and hit enter, it's going to install pillow for me. And right now, as you can see, it has actually denied installing pillow because I'm not currently logged in as a super user. So in order to resolve this issue, if you're on Mac or Linux, you need to type in sudo pip install pillow, and then it's going to ask you for your password, and when I go ahead and enter my password, it's going to start installing pillow for me. Now if you're on Windows and if you get the permission error while installing pillow, what you need to do is that you need to go ahead and open up your command prompt as administrator. So simply go ahead, type in cmd on your search bar, right click on cmd and click on run as administrator. So when you go ahead and run cmd as an administrator, you won't have any permission issues while installing pillow. So once pillow is installed, we can now go ahead and work on the rest of the model. So once the fields in the models are completed, now let's go ahead and add the string representation of this model. So in order to do that, we type in def str, pass self over here, and this is nothing but this is what we always do when we want to access objects in that model. We just go ahead and define the representation of that particular model. So that means whenever we are trying to access any object from this model, we should get the username. So we'll type in self dot user dot username. So once we go ahead and do that, we are pretty much good to go. So now once this thing is done, once we have all those fields, once we have the method over here, we are almost good to go. So this means our model is actually ready. And now whenever you go ahead and create a new model, what we always do is that we go ahead and make the migrations. So you need to type in Python manage.py make migrations. So when I go ahead and hit enter, it's going to create the model which is profile. Now again, you need to type in Python manage.py migrate. So when I go ahead and hit enter, it's actually going to migrate, and now we will have the table at the backend. And now in order to check if the profile model is actually added, we can simply go ahead, fire up our server. So let me just type in Python manage.py run server, and now let's go to the admin site, log in as admin, and as you can see, currently we do not have the model over here. So in order to actually add the model to the admin site, we always need to go ahead, go to the admin site, and we need to register that model over here. So first of all, we will import the profile model. So we'll type in from .models import profile, and in order to register the model, we will type in admin.site.register, and then simply pass in profile over here. So once we go ahead, do that, save the code, and once we go back over here and hit refresh, as you can see, now we have user profile model right over here. So now once we have this user profile model, we can now go ahead and actually add the user profiles over here. So currently now if you go ahead and go to the user profiles, as you can see, there are no currently existing user profiles right here. So in the next lecture, we'll go ahead and we will learn how to exactly work with this particular user profile model. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Thank you.